50 years ago, NBC aired another new episode of the classic Star Trek series called What the Fuck? The Alternative Factor. And these are my honest opinions about it. Well, this one is fun. We start on the bridge of the Enterprise. The crew is examining the dead planet they're orbiting when the first WTF moment happens. The video of Captain Kirk sitting on his chair is suddenly overlaid with a static painting of the universe and a rotating cube. According to our favorite Vulcan, everything within sensor range suddenly blinked, almost like the universe stopped existing for a moment. They go down on the planet where they meet Lazarus. No, not this Lazarus, and not even this Lazarus. Our Lazarus is a weird guy with some weird hobbies, like yelling, climbing on rocks, jumping down off cliffs, being psychopathic. They get back to the ship and another WTF moment happens. Starfleet Command sends them a Code 1 Victor message. Commodore Barstow tells Kirk that the weird stuff happened in the whole galaxy, and they think it's an invasion. Huh? Invasion? Who invades who? Kirk interviews Lazarus and he finds out that Lazarus has a completely reasonable mission. He wants to destroy an evil humanoid monster thing who destroyed his civilization and can destroy the whole universe. Sure, why not? Dr. McCoy claims that first Lazarus had a bandage on his forehead, later it was gone, but when Kirk checked it, the bandage was back on his head. Meanwhile, Spock discovers a source of the weird radiation, which however is not there despite them seeing it. Makes perfect sense if you ask me. Spock and Kirk come with a theory of a rip in the universe, where normal laws of physics do not apply, and the key to find the sources are the dilithium crystals. Sorry, what? How does that work again? Oh, you won't explain it. Okay, let's go on. Now, Lazarus, of course, wants to get the crystals, because they will help him to find and kill the monster. Somehow. Kirk doesn't want to give him the crystals, what a surprise, but still allows Lazarus to run freely on the ship, even after he threatens that he will have his revenge. In the ship's cafeteria, or however you want to call this room, Lazarus hears a conversation of these two officers. However, what's with this woman? Why is she first staring behind the camera, and why is she then staring at Lazarus with this strange look and smile? Are we supposed to think that women of the 23rd century find a man who look like they just crawled out of a dumpster behind the 1970s gay bar attractive? Anyway, he overpowers Lieutenant Masters and steals two dilithium crystals. Now, we probably should talk about the character, right? You may be wondering, why is she a lieutenant, but wears no rank braid, which would mean she's an ensign? Or maybe why she works in engineering but wears a nurse uniform? Or maybe why she is introduced like an important guest character but is ignored during most of the plot? Well, it turns that she indeed was supposed to be a nurse, and she was supposed to fall in love with Lazarus and help him steal the crystals. Why did they change it? Well, it depends on who you ask. Some sources claim that this subplot was dropped because it was way too similar to Marla MacGyver's and Khan in Space Seed. Others claim that it was because NBC was not very comfortable with a subplot showing a romance between a white man and a black woman. To me personally, both reasonings sound incredibly stupid. The first one suggests that Star Trek didn't want to repeat the storylines, but they did repeat them so many times before and after, so that sounds pretty stupid. The second one is racist, and racism is just stupid. Anyway, back to the plot. After Lazarus has a fun time back on the planet with his hobby, jumping down off rocks, in sickbay he now tries to tell Kirk that he's a time traveler, that spaceship, which looks like it was stolen from George Jetson, is actually not a spaceship, but it's a TARDIS. I mean, a space and time travel ship. What does it bring to the story? That's right, absolutely nothing. However, Kirk and Spock now conclude that the weird energy comes from outside their universe, from some other alternate or parallel universe. They also say that Lazarus sometimes behaves reasonable and sometimes like a lunatic. So that apparently means that there are two Lazaruses, Lazars, two copies of Lazarus, one from each universe, and they switch places regularly. Which again, as typical for this episode, makes no sense, since we've seen both the injured Lazarus and the healthy Lazarus act in both ways. They also claim that one universe is from matter and the other one from antimatter, and that they're joined by a tunnel, a negative magnetic corridor, if you will. Meanwhile, Lazarus takes a thing out of a thing, turns the thing around, and then sticks the thing into the thing, which causes a fire in engineering. This has been another WTF moment. Why is that thing freely accessible from the main corridor? It's not even locked or something, they're just asking for trouble. Also, are you really trying to tell me that the 21st century engineers are so dumb that they create things which can be plugged into other things in both ways? I mean, even in the 1990s, all the small parts were manufactured in such a way that it was impossible to plug them in an incorrect way. Lazarus goes to the planet again and sticks the crystals to a hole in his ship. You know what, I'm actually sick of saying that it makes no sense. The story will be over soon, let's concentrate on that. Then Kirk tries to enter the Jetson ship and he disappears without even touching something. Again, no questions, just deal with it. He suddenly appears in the alternate universe, and shouldn't he appear in the alternate Jetsons ship? Why is he on the rocks and... Never mind. He now goes to the alternate ship, and... Why does the main universe version of the planet look like Vasquez rocks and the alternate universe version of the planet look like a soundstage? Why has the alternate ship the top dome removed and placed on the ground? Why is the alternate Lazarus suddenly friendly even though he was an asshole when he was on the Enterprise? And how is this actually happening? I mean, it was established before that matter plus antimatter equals boom. No questions, damn it. Just accept it. Lazarus B explained to Kirk A that indeed this is a different universe and that Lazarus A is crazy, and if Lazarus A and Lazarus B meet somewhere outside the tunnel, an explosion will happen which will destroy both universes. So he asks Kirk to trap them both into the tunnel and destroy his spaceship. Kirk appears in Universe A, again, not in the ship but on the rocks, and for some reason Spock and some red shirts are there just watching Lazarus. What the hell are they doing there? Oh god, I'm asking questions again, sorry. Now, I should be probably enjoying the fight between Kirk and Lazarus A, however, I can't keep my eyes away from the extras. Anyway, Kirk sends Lazarus to the tunnel, and from the Enterprise they blow up the ship, and it's finally over. Oh my god. What was this? I don't know where to start. This episode should be shown in film schools all over the world as an example of how not do a sci-fi story. Well, the premise is great. I love the idea of this Captain Ahab kind of character, and I love the quote-unquote twist when we find out that he's basically hunting himself or a different copy of himself. I also love the idea of an alternate universe and a character traveling between different universes. But the execution of these ideas, oh boy. The dialogue sucks, the costumes sucks, the acting of our leads is okay, but the acting of the main guest star sucks. The visual effects suck. I mean, most of the time I have not an idea what is going on. It just looks like some random crap put on screen without any rhyme or reason. Don't get me wrong, I do understand that it's very hard to visualize something like parallel universes or blinking of the universe. But still, if they didn't know how to film the script, why did they decide to film it? I know about the chaos behind the scenes. The original lead actor, John Barrymore, simply decided not to show up, for which he was punished and he was not able to work for 6 months. They had to bring Rob Brown literally in the last minute. The poor man never read the script or actually seen any other Star Trek episode. He got the job one day and the next morning he was already shooting, so we can't really blame him for his performance. He literally had no idea what he was doing. But who can we blame for most of the episode? Making no sense. Even though I like the premise, the execution is really bad. After considering all the positives and all the negatives, I am giving this episode 3 out of 10. In other words, well, at least they tried. This is definitely not an episode which you should show to somebody who wants to get introduced to Star Trek. Anyway, my opinions are my opinions. What do you think about this episode? Do you love it or hate it? Leave your comments down in the comment section, and if you like this type of videos, I am doing a quick thoughts on video each week, 50 years after the original premiere. So if you want to see my previous videos, feel free to check them and come back next week when we'll talk about one of the best episodes of Star Trek ever, The City on the Edge of Forever. And a quick final question. The first season of TOS ends in 2 episodes. Do you have any tips what I could do until I get to season 2 in September 2017? I was thinking about doing videos about the animated series or about the movies. What do you think? Again, thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye.